All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of SFF Addicts for our panel on indie publishing and bookselling. And our guest today, we're very pleased to have him, is Matt. He's the founder of The Broken Binding. Say hello, Matt.
Hello.
How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you.
Right on. And The Broken Binding is an independent bookstore based in the UK, run by Matt and a bunch of folks who are passionate about all kinds of books, but nothing quite touches their heartstrings like science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And we're very, very happy to have you here. We're happy to chat about indie publishing, bookselling, and all that kind of stuff. And we're also joined by my Southern Comforts, David, the founder of FanFiAddict, David Walters. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. And then we also have Justin Gross. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, and please always refer to me as your Southern Comfort from here on out.
Just my
Might be
sweet,
the
sweet
best way
Southern
I've ever
Comforts.
been referenced in my life.
Yes.
It's better than Boss David. It's just like, yeah, man, I'm your Southern Comfort.
I mean, it definitely has a certain, je ne sais quoi. Was that Geico commercial or whatever?
I'll refer to Tori as that as well, and she'll be super happy, I'm sure.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, Matt, thank you for joining us, and tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and then how are you doing? How's life?
Yeah, it's all good. Very busy at the moment. I'll tell you about myself. I'm 25 years old. Been bookselling for around 6-7 years. I was at Waterstones for 5. So I come from a Waterstones background, which is a very big book chain in the UK. The kind of, I mean, they bought out Foyles a few years back, so they are the sort of the big book branch over here. I know that the owner's also CEO of Barnes and Noble now, so they're kind of like spreading over to the US.
Conglomerate.
Say again, sorry.
A big conglomerate, just
Yeah,
soaking
man,
up everything.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing though, because I mean they are quite good at what they do. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having been there. You get a lot of freedom to sort of do what you want. So any books that you want to get behind, they're very keen to help you out. They do teach you a lot in terms of, so like with the wholesalers and that sort of stuff. But they don't deal with publishers or publishing reps anymore. So I've had to sort of learn all that as I go along. It's been tragic here and there, but it's for the most part it's been very good. I mean, the publishers they've been very kind to me, and all of my reps are absolutely fantastic. I can't say a bad thing about them. I'm very blessed to have met a lot of great people so far. So it's very different doing this to Waterstones, but as I say, I mean, it's the good thing about the book industry is that everybody is so nice. You will meet the odd person, but for the majority of people are very kind and they're happy to help. I mean, I was very, very fortunate to be able to get the special edition of Desert Prince from HarperCollins, and I was very fortunate to get the signed editions of The Shadow of the Gods as well from Hachette. I'm really, really lucky that came through, because I think that was the sort of the first block into being what we're doing now, really.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, tell us more about the founding of the Broken Binding and why you decided to switch over from Waterstones and kind of venture off on your own.
well, it's a bit of a funny story, really. I kind of owe everything to Justin Cole, who's author of Master of Sorrows and now Master Artificer. I was so originally I had he probably won't remember it now, but I had a bet with Chris Woodin. I really wanted a signed copy of The Ember Blade in hardback, and I said to him, "Oh, if I sell 100 copies, will you send me over a signed hardback edition?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I bet you won't sell more than my mum." So I was like, "Oh, I'm going for this now." So I sold 100 copies. He sent it over, and then I realised that the way that the company worked was, because I'd sold so many copies of the book, other shops in the local area latched on, and they started introducing the stock to their stores. So it wasn't just stocked at my store; it was stocked across the board. And then the next one I looked at was Master of Sorrows. The sort of cover of it caught my eye, and I messaged Justin asking him the same thing, and he sent over 80 handwritten letters and book plates, signed book plates, and I started selling signed book plate editions. They went really well. Same thing happened there. I got it into stores across the country, and then I was speaking to Mike Shackle, Essa Hansen. I spoke to Jeremy Czar, Matthew Ward. He came to do a couple of signings. He drove over to meet me and did a couple of signings, and it was going very well. And then the pandemic hit. I got quite bored during the pandemic, to be honest with you. I think I've got quite a sad life where all my spare time is spent searching for new books. I mean, I'd spend hours doing it, and when I was at work, I'd spend hours doing it as well. So I built up quite the knowledge. But because I'd done that, I know quite a lot in the science fiction fantasy world, because that's what I'm sort of most into. So I thought about building a website and doing what I did for Waterstones for myself during the pandemic, and it kind of, I mean, the website was built in November. It took me a month to put up the first lot of books, because every book that I put on there I have to get everything for that book. So I have to get the product details, description, price, author, the series. I have to get the images. So it took quite a while to get into the routine of putting things up. And then come sort of I think it was late January, books just started selling themselves, and I didn't tell anybody about it. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just launch now. So I did a massive giveaway, and it kind of, like, I don't know, it grew from there. But as I say, without a lot of the authors as well that really helped me out, sending in book plates and stuff like that, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now with the company. So I think that really helped, and obviously the giveaways built that sort of following, and then it was trying to sort of interact with people in a way that I can't do because I'm not in a bookshop. So my favourite thing about working in the bookshop was sort of walking up to people and recommending books to them, but not in a way that's sort of like, I hate walking into shops and people sort of scrambling towards you, like, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. That's why I don't do it online either. You know what I mean? I'm not like, buy this, buy this, buy this. It's more general of, we've got this. We've got so many copies left. It's not sort of trying to. I don't like people trying to force things down your throat. I don't like that corporate aspect to things as well. I really didn't want to do a newsletter because I hate getting them on my own emails. They're really annoying, man. You think you've got like 5 messages and you're like, what's going on? And it's just a newsletter from, like, I don't know, Hotel Chocolate or something like that.
Somebody who snagged your email at some point. It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah. They're all using my email for everything. That's funny, actually. Somebody signed the broken binding up to Plenty of Fish. So I was getting emails from them about dates and stuff like that. I was like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, the broken binding could be like a pretty sexy double entendre if someone thought about it like that.
You know, it's so crazy. You were talking about setting up your giveaways. It feels like it was so long ago that, you know, you started doing a giveaway almost like every day or every week. I remember because I ended up winning one of them. I won one for Sam Hawke's second book, Hollow Empire, and I mean, you got so much traction off doing those giveaways that I mean, it just blew up. It feels like overnight.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to sort of, I mean, everybody's been so supportive, and I think it's really important to give back. I mean, as I said, I'm not really into sort of corporation and stuff like that. I'd never want the broken binding to be a big sort of corporate thing with no personality. I think giving stuff away to people is very important. If it's a damaged book and it costs the company £10 to buy, you know what I mean? It's only a £10 loss. And I know it builds up, but at the end of the day, I mean, without everybody sort of getting behind us, then where would we be? So it's important to give stuff back. And I mean, who doesn't love a free book? You know what I mean?
Everybody
Uh,
loves a giveaway.
so it's kind of like I'm trying to do a bookshop that I'd like to buy from myself. So like, I mean, the wrapping and stuff like that, the packaging. Um, I mean, I'd love to buy a book from somewhere that did that. And to be honest with you, I really try my hardest as well not to send out damaged books, because I really hate it when I get damaged books. And also, the worst is when you buy a hardback online as well, and a trade paperback turns up, and you're like, that really irritates me as well. So I tried to sort of distinguish them properly, and also never send out a damaged thing. But it's kind of like, so it's the bookshop that I always wanted to buy from. I mean, I'm a massive signed book collector as well. I love buying signed books. But I mean, you go on eBay to look for books that have been brought out, and they're very expensive. They can be sort of into the hundreds of pounds. And I was thinking, well, normal people can't afford to pay for this. I couldn't afford to pay for it. And and when you love, I think with science fiction and fantasy, it's kind of like, the community is so sort of tight as well. I mean, everybody's so, um, I mean, we're all into the same stuff. It's not, they're not toss away books like thrillers. You know what I mean? Where you can buy a thriller, you finish it, it hasn't changed your life. It's not done anything for you other than, you know, you've tried to figure it out. It's been interesting, but it's science fiction, fantasy. I think people, that you keep them forever, don't you? And I think having a signed copy of that that's affordable is really important to people, because it could potentially save somebody from the darkest stages in their life. And to have a signed copy, be it a paperback and it's got a book plate in it, for $9.99, you know what I mean? It could, it's more about sort of, I don't know the words for it, to be honest with you.
It's kind of like
It's
building a personal connection with this thing that,
yeah. I mean,
like you
so like,
say, it could save
yeah. I
somebody
mean,
or
I
change their
absolutely
life.
Well, I absolutely love. So the name of the bookshop comes from, The Name of the Wind. I absolutely love that book. I've read it about 10 times. If I bought a signed copy of that from America, and they couldn't ship it to the UK, but I had a friend that was at university in America, and it went to him, and then he brought it over for me. And that is my favourite book that I own, and I absolutely love it. And I've got it kept all nice, and it's like I won't touch it, just because it's like the most important book on the shelf to me. Other than I've got an illustrated edition of The Hobbit, that I think it was my first book that I was ever bought. That's really important to me as well. But this one signed by Patrick Rothfuss, man, I will not touch it. It's like it's there, and I don't want anybody to touch it or ruin it or anything like that. I think if there was a fire and the house was burning down, I'd run in for it. You know what I mean? That's how much I love it. So other people are going to feel this way about other books and authors. I mean, not everybody likes the same book. You know what I mean? So some people won't like The Name of the Wind, and they'll like something different. And as I say, the sort of it's I think it's really important that people can get that, at a price that they can afford. It's 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 what's better than a signed book?
And I mean, it sounds like your mentality as a collector, and
Yeah,
and someone who really cherishes the books that you own,
yeah,
and the genres that you're reading, that kind of feeds into the mentality of the broken binding, where it,
yeah. Well,
as
that's really,
a bookseller, it feels more genuine, it feels more personal.
oh yeah.
And
This is
then
100% passion, man.
yeah, and then that
I
translates into how people who are buying the books,
yeah,
they're looking at that and being like, "Oh my god, like
yeah.
reasonably priced." So it's not like so
This
corporate
is
and money grabbing.
Yeah, I don't want to ever come across like that. I mean, I'd rather close the shop down than be perceived as that. And it's really important. It's like the reprints that I'm bringing through. Um, they're they're quite expensive for us to buy, and the money that we make from that, I'm not having sort of any of that. You know what I mean? I'm not greedy. I don't want anything from that. I literally just want to buy more books. So it's like, all the profits that's made is pretty much going straight back into buying more books. So like, from the John Gwynne one, we'll get another reprint or two reprints from it. And I think that I'm more interested in getting signed special editions for myself rather than get loads of money. It's and it's sort of offering them to people at a decent rate. I mean, there's loads of places out there that sell sort of super special editions and stuff like that, but they'll go into the sort of the hundreds market, and I think it's people can't afford that, man. I know the John Gwynne ones for the full set was £140, but that's £35 a copy. So I mean, as I say, we're not making a lot of money off that. It's literally, and all the profits going straight back into our next reprint that we should be launching on the 14th. We're going to try to get the video up this week. We're just waiting on a few things to come through, but we've had all the images and they are beautiful. Wait till you see these books. They're absolutely stunning. I am so
I've already seen
excited.
them.
Yeah, you've seen them.
Very
They're
casual.
gorgeous, aren't they?
Yeah, just casual dust off the shoulder.
I was hyperventilating when I got the pictures through. I couldn't believe it. And then we're in discussions with I'm currently talking to HarperCollins, Penguin Random House, Hachette. This next one is from Head of Zeus. We're also I'm talking. I really want to do something with Angry Robot as well, because I really like Angry Robot. I think they're a really awesome team, and they publish some really awesome books. So that I'm very keen to get in with them. Simon Schuster as well. I really want to do something with them, but it's not been too easy. I think it's because I was asking for lower quantities, because like a month ago, the broken binding wasn't as big as it is now. It's getting a lot bigger every month. I mean, we put up our subscription thing last week, and we've nearly hit 1,000 people wanting to subscribe to a special edition every month. It's just absolute, to me, it's just bizarre that I sort of set this up in a bedroom, not thinking anything would ever come of it, and all of a sudden it's like it's my life. I mean, I currently work 10 to 14 hours a day doing this. I literally, it is my life. There's only two of us that work for the company. It's me and Sean. And Sean's absolutely brilliant. Like, Sean's absolutely brilliant. But because he lives about an hour away from me, I'm still doing all the packing and wrapping on my own. So it's very much sort of like it's very time consuming doing all that, and that's why I haven't had time to put up a lot more stock recently. But because the start of this month's been quiet, because I think everybody's waiting for the next reprint to see what it is. I'm going to try and get things cleared up a bit. I'm currently working on uploading the indie section of the site, which again is really important to me. I really want to support indie authors and get behind them as much as I can. So I think that's going to play a crucial role in us as well, and show sort of what the company's about. You know what I mean? It's for people that love fantasy and science fiction, and hopefully in the future horror, and then graphic novels as well. I really like graphic novels, man. They're awesome.
I mean, that sounds really cool, because it's basically like you're a very grassroots kind of outlet who's just pushing stuff for the love of literature and science fiction and fantasy. And
yeah,
I'm curious what your sort of balance is in terms of your perspective between, you're working with some bigger publishers, you want to start working with Angry Robot and things like that.
I know we already work with Angry Robot. I want to start taking I've done 2 of them now, and I'm taking quite a few copies of the offset as well, signed. I'm also speaking with them next week about the prospects of opening up a subscription to them as well, a Angry Robot subscription where you get a book each month from Angry Robot. I really like Rebellion as well. I think they're fantastic. There's some really, really good small presses out there. It's just sort of at the moment it's being able to find the time. So last month we had 700 orders in the first week, and it sort of set me back because I was working on the Desert Prince and trying to get them out as fast as I can, because I hate damaged book mail, but I hate late book mail as well. So I mean, I was working silly hours trying to get them out as fast as I can. And it was great to see them when they were out online. I mean, bearing in mind they're triple wrapped as well, so every single book that I send out has to be have the bookmark and the map put inside, and then I wrap the covers. They take it takes me 4 hours to do 80 books on the dust jackets, the sort of protective wrap. So I had 300. And then obviously you're not always working at a rapid pace, so sometimes you do slow down a bit. And then I had to, they're very slippy as well, bear in mind. I had to put them in tissue paper then, and then wrap them after, and then you have to do the bows as well. And tying the bows, that takes quite a while, It takes quite a while. So it's like, and then I have to sticker them, and it's good fun. I do like doing it. I think the end product is worth it. I mean, the Desert Prince looked absolutely beautiful when it was finished, and so did the Shadow of the Gods. And I think the book subscription, we're going to be doing 1,000 books a month to 1,500 a month, like that. So, but I want to sort of step out of the sort of the black wrap, and I want to do gold or something nice for them.
You'll need
so
someone
you
else
can-
to step in and help you, because that's a lot of wrapping.
Yeah,
right?
well, I've got another friend who I'm going to get, and he lives by Sean. And then there's also somebody else that should be joining us very soon. It's just I'm very sort of critical of minimum wage as well. I don't agree with it. I want to pay people the living wage. So, and I do not want to employ somebody if I can't pay them a fair wage. That's very important to me. I don't want. I'd hate to pay somebody. I understand that other sort of small shops and stuff like that will have to, because they're sort of physically based and stuff like that. So they've got to pay bills and stuff like that, whereas I don't. But I think the most important thing is to sort of treat people how you'd want to be treated. So I mean, as soon as I can, I'm gonna hopefully pop that up the wage as well. It's important to me that people can live. You know what I mean?
No, but that
So
sounds like a really good encapsulation of the whole ethos of the broken binding, because it's like,
yeah, 100%, man, 100%.
the company itself, but then on top of it, the people that you're selling books to. And then earlier you mentioned that you want to start getting more involved with indie authors, and I'm
Yeah,
curious,
yeah.
like, how do you want to approach that?
Well, we put out it was like a forum for people to, a form, sorry, not a forum, a form for indie authors to fill in. And I'm currently going through, we had quite a few submissions on that. And then Sean's also dealing with quite a few indie authors through through email and they messaging through the site. I think that I'm going to start searching myself for indie authors as well, and start messaging people and try and get everybody in as much as I can. I think the only issue I'm going to have is that if people do order an indie book alongside a regular book, they may have to wait a couple of weeks for the order, because a lot of the indie books are print on demand, and unfortunately we're not a big corporate company with loads of money to sort of buy up stock. We can't afford that. So and we've not got the space either. So that's the pathway it's going to be. That we're going to take to begin with, but hopefully further down the line we'll be able to pick more sort of stuff up, and stock it. We're currently we stock. I've got copies of Illborn. I think that's probably one of. Oh, and actually, I've got a couple. But they're going to be for the launch, so I'm not going to say anything about that yet. So we're discussing special editions with indie authors as well. I think that'd be cool. Yeah, we're the one that we've got in stock at the moment is Illborn, because it's doing very, 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 very well for us. That's Daniel T. Jackson. I think it's on the self-published book of the year award as well. I think it's gone through to the next level, and there's been a massive demand for Illborn. So, and Daniel seems really nice, and he's always sort of plugging it online for us and saying you can get signed copies from the Broken Binding. And I'd like to offer that to all indie authors. So it's just getting to
Yeah, I
that
mean, I
point.
think it's a really good perspective from your position to be an indie bookseller and to be involved in this
Yeah.
indie publishing, and then
Well,
to
to be
support the
honest,
indie author market as well and help
yeah.
push them
Well,
and get them promoted.
to be honest, I think a lot of the bigger shops would get behind it. I think that the problem with sort of Waterstones and places like that, that the problem that they have is that you've got so much shelf space, and because they're a massive company and they need to keep a constant trickle in, I think it's 33% of the shelf spaces for the bestsellers. So Margaret Atwood and authors like that, and then another 33% is for the classics, and then I think they split the last. I'm not too sure if this is the way they do it. The last bit might be split, so it's like new books and like the new bestsellers. So like Where the Crawdad Sings and stuff like that. That became massive, although that would probably be on a table. But I think it's just that they need to do that, otherwise they you know what I mean, they wouldn't be able to function as well as they do, because then the bestsellers are what keep a constant trickle. But then again, you have got the regular people that, like regular customers, that will come in, and if they don't see anything new or eye catching on the shelf, they don't generally purchase anything. They'll pick up the odd book, and they'll go on hauls where they'll see stuff, and make a list and come in and just buy a lot. But I think that if they were to sort of add indies and some of the new authors that are coming out as well, I think they create a bigger sort of market for them.
Yeah, I mean, the Broken Binding has already proven that there's an aching need for this kind of thing in the
Yeah,
industry,
man.
and people have
Yeah,
responded in kind. And
yeah.
how do you think the Broken Binding and your approach to doing things is more or less in dialogue with the larger, not necessarily more corporate, but the larger companies and the larger
I
booksellers
think
and how they do things?
we're more sort of concentrated. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a difficult question. I think we're more sort of, so because we're online as well. That's obviously a massive difference compared to a physical shop. Whereas most of these places are online, but they don't push as hard as us. I think it's because we're very specialised towards science fiction, fantasy, whereas the bigger shops make their money from sort of thrillers and, I mean, what's his name,
Romance.
Richard Osmond and stuff like that. He's that's massive in the UK at the moment. His new one, and you've got there's like your standard fiction, books like The Beekeeper of Aleppo and stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff that keeps the big companies going. So they're going to throw their weight behind that sort of stuff. Um, that's why, I mean, you'll see a lot of the time that the science fiction fantasy section in a lot of shops is a lot smaller than some of the other sections, because I think that there's a bigger reading audience for something that gets stuck in a paper and people go out and buy it. Whereas science fiction fantasy doesn't really have that. It's just got that sort of loyal customer base.
And a lot of the
So
times it gets clumped together into just one section. It's not even distinct. Here's
I
science
know,
fiction, here's fantasy. It's just like sci-fi and
I
fantasy.
know. It is annoying. It is annoying. Some shops do try and change things up. They do it with horror as well. They try and strip horror out of it, or they'll just throw horror in there. It can be annoying. But I mean, you always discover good things as well when it's all mashed together. But at the same time, if you've been reading the stuff for years and you know most of the authors on there, you know what I mean. It's a bit different. But yeah, I think we're different because we're specialised, and I think we probably take it a bit more serious, for the some of the bigger places, because it's very important to me and to Sean. You know what I mean? It's more of a passion rather than just some books that we can make money on. They're not just numbers to us. They're sort of somebody's sort of, you know what I mean. So when people sit down and write a book, it takes years. It's somebody's sort of livelihood,
Soul.
dreams. Yeah, it is. It's the soul. And again, that's really important to me as well. So, and as I say, I try to sort of throw my passion into that as well. I don't try, I do. It's like I'm obsessed with this stuff. I am literally obsessed with science
It's what you
fiction.
do every day. But I mean
Yeah, man.
that for me is just what the broken binding comes down to, is just so much passion. And
Yeah,
it's different because you're such a small team, but when you compare that to traditional booksellers, these big companies, the
yeah,
more that you sort of like whittle down into hierarchies and all this kind of stuff, the
yeah,
harder it is to be evocative of a single person's passion. Um,
yeah. Well, this is it. This is it. I mean, if had Waterstones sort of let me do this for them, then I don't know what I'd be doing now or what would be going on. But you know what I mean. I prefer doing it for myself because it's more sort of, it's personal. You know what I mean. I can speak to people, and I just wish that we had a physical bookshop because I miss that sort of speaking to people and sort of connecting with people that like the same sort of stuff as me. I mean, because you imagine I'm spending, like, as I said earlier, 10 to 14 hours of the day on my own, working. It's not the same as being able to talk to people in person um, and recommend them books and have them recommend me books as well. I miss that. I really do miss that. Some of my favourite books have been recommended to me by other people.
do you feel
So
like that's something that more traditional bookseller, or at least like a brick and mortar place, has in terms
yeah,
of
100%.
the
I mean, they get
community aspect versus
yeah.
just being online?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope that we've got that sort of community aspect on Twitter. I do sort of try and spice things up on there with certain things. You know, I do the broken circle every now and then. It's a bit of a laugh. Um, and I mean, Brianna Taft's been ruining everyone on there. I think she's just beat Boromir. It's like she's going to take everyone down. So I enjoy that sort of stuff. I try to sort of build a community on there, get people talking. It's fantastic to see authors getting involved as well, which is like really awesome. I mean, I'm sort of again, it's very strange for me because some of these people have been my heroes for years, and now I get to speak to them. It's just it's I can't describe that how sort of how it makes me feel. It's awesome. So yeah, we tried to build up that community thing on there, but I am looking at buying a physical shop, but I want it to be awesome. I'm currently looking at buying a piece of land and putting a book barn on there. And there's a castle by me that's got a trebuchet, and I kind of want one of them. And we can do book fairs and jousting, and I want to
That sounds like the most John Gwynn book location ever.
Right.
That sounds
it'd be awesome.
beautiful.
It'd be awesome. I want to do. We're going to brew some ale as well if we get it, and we're going to do D&D with ale from Horns. And there'll be like Magic the Gathering nights, poetry nights. My old boss, he owns his own poetry company. So I'm sure he'll be able to get some poets in for us, all for readings. I'm hoping to get. It's just finding the right location um, for the right price, or even sort of in a few years' time when we can afford it properly, and kicking it off. I've got a lot of. I mean, we're just getting warmed up, man. There's a lot of stuff I want
Oh
to do.
yeah. No,
So
that sounds so cool though. I mean, next time I'm in the UK visiting my
yeah,
brother,
come
I
visit,
would
man.
love to come visit.
Yeah, come
But
visit.
like
You're good when you get
what you're describing sounds so much more personal
Yeah, it is. Well,
and
I think it's
passionate and
yeah,
invested in the science fiction and fantasy community and the whole like atmosphere
yeah,
of it, as opposed to obviously most booksellers where
yeah,
it's like they have to spread their genres pretty thin since there's
yeah. I
such a
mean,
wide variety.
I think that we'd be going the opposite way. I think that I mean, it'd be very silly to have a bookshop and not to sell books like Jane Eyre. I mean, Jane Eyre is one of my favorite books. It's probably my favourite book is Between the Name of the Wind and Jane Eyre. I love Jane Eyre, and it'd be silly not to stock books like that, because it's you know what I mean, that people will want to read that stuff too. It's not just, I mean, I don't think anybody just reads science fiction, fantasy. They do read other stuff as well, and there's a lot of great books out there. So it'd be incorporating that, but that'd be more of a sort of very select. That'd be the smaller section, if you know what I mean. Whereas with this the sci-fi fantasy, that'd be the sort of the core stuff. That'd be the big section.
Yeah,
So,
I like your approach though, because it's essentially, it's kind of obviously beneficial to have the classics and those kinds of things in there, but at the same time, we, as modern science fiction and fantasy readers, have to understand that this is kind of like the history of sci-fi and fantasy comes from those. Fantasy stems from Beowulf and Gothic novels like
yeah.
Frankenstein and things like that. So I think it's really cool to sort of have this section that digs a little bit more into like the classics and the history of where science fiction and fantasy could have come from.
I really wanted to start up a subscription for science fiction fantasy masterworks as well. I think that's something that, I mean, I was going to start it a while back, but things didn't go as planned. But in the future, I want to get that up and running, because there's some really, really good books in that selection. What's annoying about it is that there's not many sort of female authors that they've got in that selection though, which is disappointing to see. But I think further on down the line, I think that they should definitely, add some more. There's so many fantastic authors coming all the time, and this sort of, I think that sort of selection, although it's the masterworks, that's like books that are like 50 years old. You know what I mean? There's so many brilliant books coming out now that should slowly be added to that. So, but yeah, there's some fantastic stuff out there that's led to what we read now.
I'm actually very curious. Like, what's your reading history, and how did that sort of merge into science fiction and fantasy? I mean, you mentioned Jane Eyre as being one of your favorites, but what was sort of like your introduction to literature in general?
I'm one of the sort of, I don't know, I'm pretty boring. It's Tolkien. I was absolutely obsessed with Tolkien. So that was for quite a while, and then what did I read after? I started reading weird books. Like, do you know Tom DeLonge from Blink-182? Yeah, he's got books out, man. I started reading them.
What about aliens?
That was years ago. They're only recent. I mean, about aliens. It's called Secret Machines. The one series it's fantastic. But yeah, it's mostly Tolkien to begin with, and then obviously C.S. Lewis was big for me. Wisdom of Earthsea, Ursula Le Guin. I wasn't really sort of drawn to sort of Harry Potter or anything like that. That was never a sort of series for me. So it was kind of like them sort of three authors, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and Le Guin, and then it kind of became Joe Abercrombie, the big names. And then I noticed that I was reading a lot of the big names, and then started sort of trickling through to the newer authors, debut authors, authors that sort of, as I say, I used to spend hours and hours searching for new books. So I'd be discovering authors all the time. I think that, I don't know what would be a good example. Like the Ill-Made Mute. Not many people have read that, and it's a fantastic book. There's loads of good stuff out there that's sort of, I wouldn't say forgotten about, because it's still in print, but it's a lot of people are missing out on it. You know what I mean? So I started doing that, and that's kind of why I was doing the thing that I was at Waterstones as well, by selling the saying, "Oh, well, I can sign a copy of this. If I can sell 100 copies of it, will you send one over?" Because I think it's important to support new authors and debuting authors, and also I was getting stuff in that people that wasn't on the shelf. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of shaped my personality. Kind of like my bookish personality, anyway. So
Yeah, and I mean it's like the way that your history of reading developed translates perfectly into what the broken binding has become.
yeah. Well, I hope so. I hope so. I want to. I mean, it's nice to hear that, because I think it's really important. As I say, I keep saying it's really important to get behind this sort of stuff. I mean, I love the big authors as much as anyone else. You know what I mean? They're big because the books are fantastic. But in reading sort of Brandon Sanderson's every book that comes out, you're missing out on somebody else's book that's come out that you could connect with more, but you haven't tried it out because you're reading every book by Brandon Sanderson. Not that Brandon Sanderson's a bad author, you know what I mean? He's one of the
No,
biggest fantasy authors of
there's
all
nothing
time.
wrong with Brendan Sanderson. He's just his output is prolific. and some
Oh yeah, well,
and
this is it. You
and
know, it's like how many books a year, and there's so many other authors out there that you could potentially be missing out on because you've sort of not dipped your toe into new waters. It's and that's what I found years ago and started reading other things. You know what I mean? I mean, and recommendations. My old boss recommended me a book called Trout Fishing in America. I don't know if you've ever read it.
no, but
But
it's
it's absolutely
I'm very curious, what is it about?
I've
uh,
been trout fishing in America.
it's so it's not about trout fishing in America. Trout fishing in America is it's an idea, it's a person, it's nature, and it's what is it? It's something else, and it's like the most bizarre book I've ever read in my life. But it's absolute. He said to me, because I said to him, if it's any good, I'll write a prequel called not trout fishing, mackerel fishing in Brighton. Just joking around, and he said to me, "It's going to blow your tiny mind," and it did, man. It blew my mind. It was awesome. It's only about 150 pages long, but it is absolutely fantastic. So I was reading stuff like that. You know what I mean? Trying different things. That's fiction. It's kind of like they call it like the American version of Alice in Wonderland. It's awesome. Um, yeah, search it, man. Check it out. Um, I'll tell you what. If you don't like it, I'll refund you the price of what you paid for it. I swear to
if I
God,
don't
it's
if I
awesome.
don't if I don't like it, you have to write mackerel fishing in Brighton.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll take you up on that. I think you'll love it. It's brilliant. They've got
Oh
this
man,
one. There's
but
one chapter where they're selling. They're like selling. It's like pieces of river are just stacked up against the side, and they're selling off nature. It's just honestly, it's so cool. Um, so
well, I
yeah,
mean that's
so I was
something
dipping
that's
my
happened a lot in England, is just nature has just been piecemealed and sold off.
mm,
In
yeah. Well,
America
this is
too, a lot of countries.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? I really want to keep the packaging eco-friendly. That's again, it's really important to me. But we're kind of hitting a bit of a barrier with sending international. We've had a few orders that have been sort of thrown around by um, somebody in the shipping process that is obviously doesn't care about other people's stuff. Or it could have just been piled on top of you. You never know. It's unfair to blame somebody when I don't know them. You know what I mean? So we're currently looking for an alternative, um, an alternative to bubble wrap. But it's. I think the problem is because of the big corporations aren't using an alternative. It's very expensive, and I don't want to charge people more for the shipping because we just got it down. We just had a deal with the Royal Mail, so I think that for a bit we'll probably start using, especially on the super exclusive reprints, we'll be using bubble wrap. But it's really heartbreaking to say that because I mean I really don't want um, our sort of bubble wrap to end up in the sea. Or anything like that. I'm really against all that sort of stuff. So it's a shame.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I was
as I
I was
say,
a I was a tattoo artist for about 6 years, and the most heartbreaking part of that industry is just how much
mm,
how much
waste.
waste there is, the needles, the plastic tubes, the plastic
Yeah, it's
covers
a
for
shame, isn't
bottles,
it?
everything. There's so much, but there is a company in the UK who I think it was last year or the year before they launched, and basically they just went like 100% eco-friendly, reuse or not reusable, but like consumable tattoo supplies. So I think they
Nice.
used like it all comes with this like green tinge because I think they use like algae
Yeah.
in part of the production. So it's really cool.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
it's like this is one of those things that gives me a bit of hope. Hopefully something like
Yeah.
bubble wrap can extend into a more eco-friendly avenue. But
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I really don't want to ruin the planet. It's like the climate change and being eco-friendly is really important to me. But then again, I don't want people receiving damaged books.
no,
It's a big dilemma at the moment because it's. I mean, I hate receiving damaged books myself. There's nothing worse than receiving a damaged book. It literally is. It's mortifying. Um, but at the same time, it's just I just wish that somebody would bring out a sort of eco-friendly bubble wrap. I mean, if we get big enough, I might even look into it myself.
the broken the
'Cause-
broken bubble wrap is your
yeah,
like
man.
side project.
So I think that's it. Like it is important, isn't it, to think about that sort of things because it's like ethics, isn't it? You have to think about it's not just one thing; it's like 20 things. It's you know what I mean. That one piece of bubble wrap could end up in the sea, it could kill an animal. It could sort of you know what I mean. It's just adding to the pollution, but at the same time, it's people are spending money that they've earned and they don't want to get something that's damaged. I mean, I wouldn't want to get something that's damaged. So it's yeah, it's just it's difficult.
It's a heartbreaking dilemma.
We're gonna keep searching. Sean's on it as well. We're
But
both looking.
I think just from the fact that you guys are a small company, you're starting now in a time when most people are more conscious of this kind of thing, that you
Yeah,
can approach the future of the broken binding with a more eco-conscious mentality. And at the same time, it's like that ties
yeah,
into what you guys do in general. It's like you guys are specialized in community driven like science fiction and fantasy, but at the same time it's like you're part of the global community and that includes the environment, so you want to kind of
yeah, yeah. This is it. This is really important. I mean, um, I haven't got kids yet, but I can't wait to have kids, and I wouldn't want them to sort of grow up in a world that's falling apart. You know what I mean? So it's you've got to be really conscious of that sort of thing. So, but yeah.
yeah, I mean it's kind of like the message that you're promoting of you as an individual, um
Yeah,
and then as a reflection of the broken binding as well. So
yeah. I
I
mean, all
think
of our papers recycled. It's recycled paper. The stickers are paper base. The book plates is not the book plates. The actual bookmarks they've gone to they're more cardboard now rather they have like a gloss to them. But although bookmarks, I think people hopefully will they hopefully they use them and don't throw them
yeah.
in the bin. I'm sure there's a few customers out there. They've got about 40 bookmarks.
Yeah. But man,
So
on social media, it's like Instagram everywhere. I always see people saying like, "Oh, I got my book mail," and they're just so happy because the broken binding and
yeah,
packaging
well, it
is just
looks
so
nice,
so
man. As I
beautiful.
said, I'm gutted that I can't buy from somewhere that does this because I'd love to receive a book by it, but I can't. Like, I mean,
Mail it to
I'm
yourself.
very fortunate to get whatever book I want now, but like, I can't wrap it up for myself and then open it and be like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's not the same. But it's nice. It's nice that other people are enjoying it. It's lovely to see that. I wish that I could enjoy it too. But I can't because I'm the one that's doing it. So it's never the same. It's like cooking for yourself, isn't it? It's not as nice as when you go out for something to eat. It's never the
Exactly.
same.
Well, actually, speaking of that, like how readers and people who are buying the books, receiving them, and the excitement that they show for the not only the book but like packaging and everything like that. How for you have you approached sort of like interacting with readers on social media? And what has that sort of like feedback given you in terms of how you've continued on with the broken binding?
I don't know. It's difficult. As you probably know, we do the question of the day and stuff like that, and then I'll do a poll of the day, and I'll try and see what people like and stuff like that, and I'll ask your favourite authors. And but I'm not. We don't really do that sort of to collect data or anything. I don't really sort of try and push things onto readers either. I think everybody likes what they like. If somebody messages me and asks me for a recommendation, I'll give them a recommendation any day of the week. I'll give them 10. But I never want to come across as somebody that's sort of pushing books onto people, because then it's not got the same sort of edge. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I've bought this because they basically forced me to, or they're forcing it online, and I don't like that sort of stuff. That's why I don't like newsletters, because it's always, you know what I mean? Oh, buy this, buy this, buy this, and it's just like
It's pushing a very specific thing.
it's lame. You know what I mean? Don't do it. Just let people choose what they want. You know what I mean? Everybody likes
It's
what they
fucking
like.
lame, man.
This is it. This is it. If they want to sort of, if people want to sort of email in, we're always happy to help anybody out. I spoke to someone yesterday, and they gave me a list of books that they like, and I recommended something they hadn't read before, and I know for a fact they're gonna love it. But I missed that in a physical shop, because you can have a conversation with people, whereas online, if you start saying stuff like what you'd say in the shop, it looks like you're sort of being ungenuine, and because you can never tell somebody's personality from the internet as well, can you? I mean, if you sort of write a sentence how it's supposed to be written, you know what I mean, just with the sort of punctuation and the full stop, and sometimes people can come across as moody when they're not, and I don't want to be like that. But yeah, I think that
That's why I'm a big
difficult.
fan of emojis. It's like not
Yeah,
that
man, I
many
love
people,
emojis.
not that many people on Twitter are into emojis, but it's like a good emoji sometimes is like, this is
Oh,
exactly how I'm
It
feeling, so
sets
you
the
don't
tone.
confuse
Yeah.
anything.
I love them. I do. They're brilliant. So they're really good, and GIFs are pretty good. I'm getting into GIFs a bit more recently. I like that little evil one where he's got his hands in the air and there's like fire behind it. It's the little frog thing. Is it a Muppet? I'm not too
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
But how
But yeah.
have the readers and the people that are interacting with you on Twitter or Instagram, how have they, or emailing you as well, how has their feedback kind of been like reincorporated into the broken binding? How have you been
Well,
changing
everybody's
things up?
been very, very nice. I mean, we've had a few um, people that give feedback on particular things that we've tried to change. I mean, the biggest feedback was the shipping's too high, and I think that because we've become so big so quickly, and because we've um, the I hope that we come across as professional, but with, you know what I mean, we like to have a laugh as well. It's not super serious. I mean, we don't wear suits or anything like that. You know what I mean? We try to come across as ourselves. So we're not sort of super serious. We like to have a bit of fun. But I think that people think that we've been around a lot longer than we have been. I mean, we've been compared to other bookshops that have been going for like 20 years. And obviously, they're going to have cheaper shipping rates because they've got 20 years of business behind them. We've got, I, I was, I mean, we started in February and it's September. So when we do go to get the cheaper rates, we have to say, oh, we sent out this many, or we're going to send out this many in the future, and we can't. You can't. It's like a catch-22. We can't get it down further until we've sent more. But to send more, unfortunately, we've got to charge the going rate at the moment. So it's going to be reviewed again in another 3 months' time. I'm hoping it'll drop again, and I'm going to keep pestering the Royal Mail to get it down as far as I can. Shipping prices to the US have dropped substantially. I think £10 been taken off that now, so it's like £24 for a 2 kg package, because we ship by weight. So a lot of companies out there will ship one book, and they'll charge a flat rate for one book, flat rate for the next book, whereas we do it by weight. So, and there's loads of complications in that as well, because I mean, we a lot of the time we forget to add the packaging to it, so then it can jump up and we'll lose money on the next bit. So it's trying to figure all that out, man. It's been a bit of a challenge, to be fair. Sean's just finished getting all that done. He's been absolutely brilliant, sorting out the shipping. So
Yeah, I mean, it's small hiccups here and there. I mean,
yeah, I think we're learning. I've never done anything like this before in my life. I mean, I was I've had like every job under the sun. Before being a bookseller, I've worked on. I used to clean canal boats. I've done door-to-door sales. I worked at Burger King for like 2 years. I had a paper round at one point. I worked at a couple of different clothes shops. I worked at Body Care as a supervisor. I've worked on building sites, so I'm a qualified bricklayer as well.
man, you've got a really eclectic history.
Well, I've done everything, but I've done it for like a couple of weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
But the bricklaying I did that part time whilst I was at Waterstones. I've got a qualification in it, so I was originally going to go into that because my hay fever gets so bad in the summer. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. So, but as I say, I'm super chuffed that the broken binding's gone so well. I was at university as well. I was at university, been there for about a year, but I can't keep up with the work now because of how busy we are here. I mean, as I say, I'm working silly hours and then trying to do like half an hour to write up an assignment that I've not even read the literature on. It's I was doing quite well actually. I couldn't believe it, and then I was just like, I just couldn't do it no more. I couldn't keep up with it.
Well, at what point in your head did you kind of like split that rationale between like, do I choose the broken binding or do I choose university, and why did you end up choosing the broken binding?
Well, I wanted to go to university to get into publishing, and I don't think there's any point in me trying to do that if this is going so well. Also, I wanted to. I mean, I really wanted to write as well. You know, and I wanted to learn. I don't think I needed to go to university for that either, to be fair. So originally, I wanted to do the broken binding because I thought it'd give me spare time to do a bit of writing, but it doesn't give me anything. Only grey
consumed
hairs.
you.
I've got grey hairs coming down the side of my head, and I'm 25. So it's. I thought it'd give me more time to write and stuff like that, but it's not. But I'm still at university. I've just not submitted the last two assignments, so I think I'm going to fail. But it doesn't matter. It's one of them, isn't it? It's you've got to make a choice, and I've made mine, and I think this is far more important. We're going to do so many awesome things, and it's going to be. I don't know. I mean, we've done so much in 7 months' time. I think, imagine what we can do in 2 years' time when I've got me and Sean have got loads of staff working with us and stuff like that. It's like it's the possibilities are endless, because I mean, once you get to like a certain level of sales as well, and the publishers start to sort of take you really serious, and they're like, oh, actually, these guys can move stock, then they're more willing to work with you. And as I say, the possibilities are endless of what we can do. I mean, we're already looking at doing a second subscription with something completely different at the moment. I mean, I want to sort of get into publishing myself eventually, do a couple of books a year. That's way down the line though, if it will ever happen. But I want to look into it. There's loads of stuff I want to do, but it's just having the time to do it. And I think in a few years' time, as I say, with the barn and stuff like that, if we do get a book barn, we can do fairs and all sorts of stuff. It's just getting to that point. I'm more of a sort of spare at the moment kind of guy. You know what I mean? I don't plan anything out either. I just do it. So everything that's been done so far has just been done. It's not really planned out. I think I need to start planning things out so I can organise my time a bit better. But
well, if you were to start planning things out for the future of the Broken Binding, what would be like the ideal for you? I mean, you mentioned publishing, and I think that would be amazing to start putting out a couple books a year.
I want to do an anthology. I think that's the first thing that I'd want to add on the list. I'd also want to have a look at setting up events until I can get a proper space for events. I'd also like to spend more time searching for books that we can reprint and getting something really cool set up with that. I'd like to do. I mean, I really wanted to do a subscription box with like we sent out like weapons with them, but I didn't know the league. You know, if that'd be legal.
That sounds like a legal nightmare, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was. It was like it was one of them sort of stupid ideas, but it would have been really cool if we could have done it. You know what I mean? You get like an axe with a copy of I don't know. You know what I mean? A brand new hardback reprint, signed, numbered, and you get an axe. You know what I mean?
You get John Wynn's Malice and an axe.
Yeah, man, tomahawk or something random. You know what I mean? That'd be really cool, but it's. I mean, you get in trouble for it, so it wasn't worth it. Yeah, I mean, I get ideas all the time. It's just being able to afford to put them into place. But now that we're in a better position than we originally were, we can do a little bit more. I mean, because when I started the Broken Binding, the company was started with £300 that I made off selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards on eBay. I know, yeah. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Dude, what a beautiful way to start the company. It's just like, sell my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I'm gonna start selling signed books.
I only bought them because I was going to start running at Waterstones. I was going to start running a sort of a little club on a Sunday because all these people were coming in and buying the cards, and they had nowhere to play it. And I was kind of thinking, well, bookshop would be pretty cool to play. I'll set up tables and stay after work for a few hours so they can all play each other, put tournaments on and stuff like that. So I bought a tin. It's like this special gold tin. And I opened it up and I showed this guy, and he was sort of asking to sort of swap all of them with me. And I was like, yeah, these could be worth some money if he wants them. So I looked on the internet, and one of them was like 80 quid, I think. So I just started selling them on eBay. And then with the money that I had left over, I was like, I just started the company with it. I put an extra £100 in, so it's all sort of really. Actually, no, it's an extra £600 because the way that our web providers works is they hold the money. So say you buy a book for £10, they'll hold that. And at the start, I didn't have sort of the money to sort of pay for the book. So because I'd have to wait for that money to come over to buy the book, I bought it from this extra small. So basically, we started off with around £1,000, and that was it. If you count the giveaways as well, because I think £600 of that was the giveaways as well, or 500. It's been. It feels like it's been forever now, but it's not been so long. But yeah, it was just £300, man.
No, but I mean 7 months later, and look at
I
what's
know,
happening.
yeah, it's weird, man.
But I think
I can't believe it. Honestly, it's so cool because it gives me more freedom to do things, and I've just launched a reprint form as well where people can go onto it, and I'm going to add it to the site soon. But it's on Twitter at the moment, and you can basically go on there if you want a series reprinted. You just write in that series and the author, and I'll try and get it. I'm going to look at the top. It'd be like the top top 3 every 3 months. I'm gonna see what's come through, and then I'll take it forward to the publishers and be like, oh, 200 people said they want this book reprinted. Can we do it? You know what I mean? I think this, and obviously I'll take a look at all the other ones as well. The problem is with the reprints is you can't do one if, so say if one of the other big sort of shops out there have done it, you can't do one for a certain amount of time, and I think that's it's quite annoying. But I understand why they're doing it. I mean, they're not going to be happy if I come along and do exactly the same thing as what they've done, although it'd be a different.
Yeah, the publishing
style of
world
book.
works on contracts, so it makes
Yeah,
sense.
this is it. This is it, and I totally understand it. I mean, if I was to sort of reprint something and then the next week somebody else did exactly the same thing, I wouldn't be happy about it because it could potentially mean that I could lose. Because when you're talking reprints, it's not like a couple of thousands of pounds to buy them. You're talking tens of thousands of pounds, and you could potentially lose all that, and that money will go towards another reprint as well. So it, it, you've got to be careful with what not. You can ask for anything really, but you've got to be careful you don't step on other people's toes. It's like the Faithful and the Fallen reprint as well. We weren't allowed to send that into the US, and it I was gutted. You know what I mean? I was really gutted because all I want to do is sell books, but because of trade rights, we couldn't do it, and that's fair enough because somebody in the US next week could launch that they're doing a reprint of it, and I'd be stepping on their toes, and that's really not fair because they could have spent how much money on it and not make that back, and it could really damage their business. So it's
I think that's a very respectful approach from your side, though.
yeah, well, you've got to be, haven't you? Because I mean, everybody in the book world should look after each other. I mean,
100%.
we should all do what we can especially in the science fiction fantasy community. I mean, we're all like brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? We all like the same stuff. We'll have the odd argument over which character shouldn't have died and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And some author's been cruel to somebody you love, but it's and then like a few arguments will pop up about different other things. But other than that, man, we are all sort of people that love the same sort of stuff, and it's really important to care for each other. It's and listen to what people have got to say. Everyone's opinion matters, you know what I mean, and that's why I think that the reprinting, sort of people asking for what they want, is really important because it gives me the chance to see what people really do like and what would be really cool to do.
Yeah, it's an effective
So
way of gauging their interest in what they want to see
yeah, man.
next.
Yeah. Because as I say, I'm doing it to get lovely books for me. So somebody else would probably want that opportunity. So why not try and give it to them? You
So
know what
damn
I mean?
selfish. You're so selfish. But it's like I've been book blogging since I guess like May, and already just the interactions I've had, people have been
Yeah,
so
I
amazingly
love that.
supportive and welcoming. Obviously there's
Yeah,
bad apples here and there, but you just push them aside and say, fuck you, I don't want to interact with
yeah,
you because you have nothing but
yeah.
negativity. But for the most part, it's like we're all supporting each other. You know, indie authors and
That's
traditional
important.
authors are in
Yeah, yeah,
conversation with book
yeah,
bloggers and everybody else.
yeah.
So
But this is it. I do. I'm very fond of book bloggers. I'd love to do more for them. Um, I've really struggled with the keeping up with the discount thing and stuff like that. I've really struggled with that because of time and working and stuff like that. I really want to resort that out um, as soon as possible. Really, we're going to launch the second round of the book blogger of the year award and the booktuber of the year award very soon. We're just basically we had loads of people send in their sort of who they think should be in the top sort of 10 and all the all like so say for FanFi we had like David and David and David, but it's like how many Davids are in FanFi? You know what I mean? How do we divide this up? How do we do this? It's so we spent a long time trying to sort all that out. Well, Sean spent a long time trying to sort that out. So it's that's all sorted now. So we're going to launch that soon. and I'm gonna get some proper trophies made. We have really fancy trophies, and then the runners up. I'm gonna get like a what's it called, like a certificate. And now that we've got gift cards, I'm thinking of
and everybody else gets a participation ribbon.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I suppose we can do that. I mean, thing is, everybody's voting on it, and I don't know if it's going to annoy people. If it on who wins and stuff like that. You know, we've got no control over this. This is literally just what people vote for. I think another problem we're going to have is that we started this about 3 months ago, when we had about 3,000 followers, and now we've nearly got 7,000 followers. So it's going to be that a lot of people didn't have the chance to vote, so they'll have the chance to vote in the next thing. But it's I think next year will be better, if we do it properly. It's just going to be one winner from each one as well. I don't want to sort of break it down and do like winner for this, winner for this, winner for this. I think it'd become too complicated then. But I am very fond of book bloggers and booktubers. I used to spend a lot of time watching and reading them as well, but now sadly it's I don't really get time to even read much anymore. I do a lot of audio now.
Yeah, well, I imagine now that you're wrapping so many books, you probably have podcasts.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, well, no, it's mostly just Audible. I'd spend £18 a week on audios. Or no, 18. Yeah, £18 a week on Audible. Just finished The Prior by Anthony Ryan, and it was like, oh mate, it was awesome. It was awesome. That's one of my favourite books that's come out most recently.
We got Anthony coming on for 2 episodes from now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh man, send him my love. He's absolutely brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Honestly, I can't recommend it. You know, sort of, there's no words that can say. You know, this book is like sort of, it's just so awesome. It's just so awesome. I absolutely adored it.
Well, I'm actually curious. Like, what's your perspective on the audiobook market, because you're doing everything physical?
Oh, I love the audiobook market. I think it's a shame that it's dominated by Amazon, though. But they seem to be doing a good job. I mean, you can't really complain, and they're doing that thing now where you can download audiobooks for free. I mean, I just got The Count of Monte Cristo for free, and it's like 52 hours long, and you know what I mean. It's awesome. So I do love audiobooks. I think they're really good. I listen to them in the car. I haven't listened to music properly for about 3 years now. It's mostly just audiobooks. It's quite sad, really, because I really do love music. Sean does the tune of the day. Sean's massive into his music, but for me, it's normally just Audible these days. It's taken over my life a bit. I bought a pair of headphones from Amazon, wireless headphones, from Amazon, because they was on this sort of sale thing, and I saw it popped up, newsletter, popped up, and I bought them. And
you chump, you succumb to the newsletter.
Yeah, I know. Shot myself in the foot there, but they were really cheap, and I bought them, and I ain't took them off since, really. They're really good. So again, just audio all day.
And what about ebooks? If you read them, or also,
Yeah,
like,
man,
would you? What's your perspective on incorporating ebooks into the broken binding in the future?
I think it's definitely something in the future, but again, there's just no way we can compete against Amazon. It's like I think a lot of people. To be fair, I think people buy from indie bookstores because they want to support an indie bookstore. You know what I mean? It's. I know that a lot of people like. I mean, I bought books from indie stores when I could have got them £50 cheaper from Amazon. I know that some people may say that's silly, but it's obviously it's somebody's livelihood. Do you know what I mean? And they do a lot of incredible things. Indie bookstores do. So I mean, ebooks. I mean, you can't compete with Amazon that are going to make a loss and sell one for 99p. Or I don't even know how they do it. To be fair, I don't know if they make a loss or if they do or they don't, or if the author misses out because of it, or anything like that. I know that it gets more people reading the books, which is good. So I think it's a good thing that they do it. But for an indie to sort of go up against the Titan like that when they've got the Kindle, it's no. It's something for Waterstones to do, really. You know what I mean? The big stores like that, Barnes and Noble, Waterstones, they should be up there with doing that sort of thing. I think for indies, it's more important to stick to traditional books and like paperbacks and hardbacks and stuff like that.
Find the niche that works best.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, it's up to them. I mean, I think that it's just. I think people will always support indies. I mean, I will. I mean, I don't. It's not going to put me off going into Waterstones and stuff like that. I mean, I do support Waterstones as well. I think that they're brilliant, and there's a lot of people out there in the bookselling world now that wouldn't be in there if it wasn't for Waterstones. As I say, they're very good. So I'll always support them. But sometimes there's no way to compete against Kindle. I think that having a physical book is a nicer thing to have than a download, something you downloaded. And I also think that it can lead to piracy as well. You know what I mean? Where people get the books for free. I think that's dangerous for authors as well because they can miss out on stuff. I mean, it's stealing from their royalty pot, really. You know what I mean? And they get their advance, and then I'm not too sure if they have to pay that back or not.
Yeah, usually if an author doesn't meet their advance, then they have
miss
to
out
return
on stuff because of stuff like that. I think that's wrong. So it does open up piracy and stuff like that. So it's one of them. Somebody said to me years ago, does Kindle stand for book burning? You know what I mean? There's loads of little things, but it's. I've got a Kindle. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's good to read at night, but I mean, I'm a bit obsessed. I'll buy the hardback and like the paperback and the Kindle and the audiobook if I really like a book.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where I've read the Kindle book on my iPad, and then I just love the book so much. I'm like, I'm gonna buy the physical version because I want it on my shelf. I loved it that much.
This is it. This is the same with me. But I generally buy the paperback first rather than the Kindle edition. I'll buy the Kindle edition as well if I'm really into it because I don't have to carry a book around with me. I mean, paperbacks, I don't mind carrying them around with me if they get battered and stuff. I know that I'll probably be crucified for saying that. You know what I mean? I break
the same way.
Yeah, I break the spine, man. I ruin them. Hardbacks, I don't. I keep them nice, but paperbacks, they just get battered. But I mean, I'll generally normally buy like. I mean, I used to buy like a couple of the same book. It got to the point where I've got that many books now that I'm buying the same books because I don't think that I already own them. But when I bring them home, I've already got them. I've got like there's a book called Killer of Kings. It's a history book, and I've got like 5 copies of it because I kept seeing it at work, and I was like, "That looks good," so I bought it, and I forgot that I bought it, and then I saw it again. I was like, "That looks good," so I bought it again. I bought it again the other day. Actually, it's on the table.
How did you space out so many times that you bought it like 5?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It just looks really good. I don't know what it is about it. It's about I think it's Charles the First killing Charles the First, English Civil War and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm correct in saying that, but it's definitely something along those lines. And the cover just keeps capturing me. I'm a sucker for a cover. So I keep buying it, and then like I get it home, and then I realise that I've got like 5 copies of it already, and I'm like, shit. What do I do now? So it's a curse, man. It's a curse. I've got, as I say, I've got that many books now that like everywhere in my living space is just books. It's like My girlfriend tried to put me on a book buying ban, but that didn't work. I was like sneaking them in. I was like a drug dealer, man. I was like sneaking them in as if I was sneaking drugs in through the house uh, and all sorts. You know what I mean? It's like anywhere I could put them, back pockets and up my sleeve. No, not up my sleeves, but you know what I mean. It was getting a bit so. But now she's just given up. So,
Yeah, now
no,
you can
It's a
just say
lost
it's for
cause.
work. It's for work. It's
it's for
research.
work. No,
Exactly.
it's for work. It is research. It is research. So it's. But I get carried away. As I say, I'll have like 3 copies of the same book for some reason. Not just because I'll buy the same book after seeing it, but there'll be like a new jacket. Um, the like Penguin classics. They've got the ones with like the colourful. Oh shit, what's it called?
Yeah, it's the orange cover that's drawn over, right?
Yeah. Oh well. They're black in. I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but they've got a black cover, and then they've got the picture on there, and then they've also got. There's like another one where they do all like fancy patterns on it, and then they do a hardback version of that as well. So I'm like, I've got that one, and that one, and then I'll buy the Wordsworth one as well because it's like £2.50. So I'll buy like 4 of the same classic book, and then I'll never read it and just listen to the audio. It's, you know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll
Uh,
get like the arc of a book, and then I'll get the hardcover when it comes out. And if the UK
yeah,
has a cold cover, I'll have to get that,
I,
and then
I,
I'll read it on my Kindle.
I
So
love arcs. I always used to be gutted at Waterstones. I used to apply for so many arcs, and I never got them. And my colleague, she always applied for them, and she always got the arcs, and she knew it used to wind me up. She used to rub it in. She used to rub it in so much, and I'd be like, I remember she got the arc for the Secret Commonwealth by Philip Pullman, and I really wanted that, and she got it, and I was like, come on, I've got the first one in the arc. Please let me have it. And she was like, nah. So I emailed in and said, like, I'm desperate to get it. And they sent me a copy. And then my other colleague took it before I got the chance. I was like, I was absolutely gutted. So I really wanted an arc of the Wisdom of Crowds as well, but I've not managed to get one. Gutted, but I'm happy to wait now. I've got 300 copies coming. I'm going to take 2. So
Just sneak those out there.
maybe 3. So
Oh man. Well, that's actually a good way to kind of close out and for you to tell us what you're reading now. If you have some recommendations for sci-fi or fantasy or horror or whatever you want
yeah.
to recommend to people.
I mean, going back to earlier, I really enjoyed the Secret Machines by Tom DeLonge. And it's kind of like Tom DeLonge was. I don't think he really wrote it. It's AJ Hartley. He's a New York Times bestseller.
So he ghost wrote it and just put Tom's name on it.
Yeah, pretty much. Him and Tom is on there, but Tom probably come up with crazy ideas, or he could have come up with the crazy ideas and just said, "No, Tom DeLonge, let me put your name in the book so we do well." Because he sells it through To the Stars. Is it To the Stars Media? His alien thing that he's launched. I love it, man. I think it's awesome.
It's like an institute, right?
Yeah, kind of. He wants
started.
He reckons he can create like UFOs and stuff like that. He's got like doctors and like really sort of clever scientists working with him, and yeah, they're gonna create stuff. And I just like watching him. I think he's brilliant.
It's just fascinating because it's so strange and
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it is. It is. They're talking about stuff that they can make float, and I'm thinking you can't, but it's worth watching. You know what I mean?
So
If it was
that's
Elon Musk, then fair enough. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I watched the thing with him, and he was on about he got annoyed with the traffic in. I don't know if it's San Diego. I don't really know America that well, so he started building a tunnel underneath it. He just started drilling one day, and just like the most bizarre things in the world. But yeah, definitely, I'd recommend the Secret Machines. The first one's
That's your
pretty
science fiction recommendation.
yeah. My fantasy recommendation is probably going to be. I'm just about to start We Cry for Blood by David Madsen. I absolutely love David Madsen's books. She's fantastic. So, I mean, she was our book of the month last month. We Ride the Storm. I'd 100% recommend the full set, the full series. I'd also like to recommend Anna Smith Spark. I love her books as well. She's absolutely fantastic. Caught Broken Knives is one of my favourite books of all time. Her work's so sort of bleak but poetic, and beautiful. It's like the best. Horror wise, I've never really. Sean's more of the horror buff than me. So I mean, in horror wise, I kind of like Poe and stuff like that. You know what I mean? The traditional, the older stuff. I think that horror can be sort of, some of it's very good. But as I say, I'm not really the biggest horror reader in the world. But I'd probably go for A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. We've just had some book plates from Paul actually, which is like awesome. But yeah, no, it's. What would you guys recommend to me?
Oh man, well, what am I reading right now? Shit. I actually, while I was in Spain, I read a bunch of stuff while I was in Spain because I just tore through some books. But I read Mort by
Oh, did you enjoy
Terry
that?
Pratchett. Was
Yeah,
phenomenal. Just
he's funny as hell.
absolutely
Isn't
phenomenal, man.
he's very, very funny.
Like his dry wit is superb. So good.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I remember the first time I read. It's the first one called The Color of Magic, and it's got that sort of prologue, and it's like there's two theories on what the turtle's going to do, and it's it's going to go off and find another turtle to mate with and create another turtle, which would be another world. And this theory is called the Big Bang Theory. And I was like, that's crazy, man. I was like, this is brilliant. This, I love it already.
It's so good.
I thought it was really funny. But he's fantastic, Terry Pratchett. I really like him Gaiman as well. Speaking of both of them together, Smoke and Mirrors is one of my favourite books of all time as well. It's a short story collection. It's all the stories in that are absolutely brilliant. So that's worth checking out.
Yeah. And then what else did I read? I read Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett.
Nice.
Which is also just like super, super good. And then I've already got
Yeah.
Shortfall. It was one of those books where I bought the first one and then just on a whim decided like, fuck it, I have like faith that I'm gonna like it enough to buy the second one too. And ended up loving the first one. So it's like perfect. I got book 2 all ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about that series.
Yeah. But that one I really recommend. Foundry Side's fantastic.
Nice, I'll take that. I'll check it out. I think I've got a spare copy at the unit actually. I'll have a look at it. What would you recommend, Justin?
Man, I think I've almost read all indies this year.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'll take an indie recommendation any day.
One that I think that you may like is Cold from the North from D.W. Ross.
Yeah. We've got something really cool lined up with D.W. Ross.
Awesome.
We've got it's 10 exclusive prints with 10 hardbacks. That's gonna we're gonna launch. We're gonna put up during the launch of the indie page. But these prints are like, yeah, they're the bollocks, man. They're like seriously so nice. I'm kind of tempted to keep one, but I don't want to take that opportunity away from somebody else. You know what I mean? So I'm really tempted to keep one for the store because I've got like a place in the unit where we've got all. It's like I've got stuff that authors have sent me, artwork, all that sort of stuff. There's like a wall where I keep them all on, and I'd like to put one up there. But at the same time, these are like super, super, super nice. So I think that I'm sort of, I can't make my mind up on it yet. But I think that I might be able to keep one. But if not, then they're going to sell
Give
out.
it to the people.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah,
the
I'm a real
people what they
sucker for
want.
art prints.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. They're awesome. They're like I think they're A3 as well, or yeah, they're A3. So they're quite big. I think he's one of his friends did the artwork for it, but it's awesome. So
Do you have another recommendation, Justin?
No, probably not. You know, I hate being asked for recommendations because it always makes me forget everything that I've ever read in my life.
oh yeah, it's not nice being put on the spot, is it? I normally get that. To be fair, yeah, you do need to take some time to think about things, and there's so many good books out there. It's just picking the right one, isn't it? That sort of really spoke to you within the last 12 months. I mean, when you do so many as well, a lot of the time they do blur into one if you don't
Yeah.
sort of have like a palette cleanser. I mean, I sort of jump between science fiction, fantasy, general fiction, and I do a lot of history as well. I love history books. I think they're so good. But again, they're not got that excitement to them, have they? They're kind of like it's just facts. Some of the authors make them really good, but most of the time it's just facts. So it's if they're not telling the story during the history book, it can tire you out a bit. But
Yeah.
as I say, I do enjoy them. So
I'm like you, Matt. I kind of mix my stuff up a bit. My rule is
Yeah.
like if I read science fiction, the next one has to be fantasy or history or
Yeah.
nonfiction, something like that. But like
Yeah.
my ultimate palette cleanser has been the Murderbot Diaries by Martha
Yeah,
Wells.
they're good. They're
Because
very good.
like these actually like novellas in general, just like something shorter that I can just burn through in like a day and just
Yeah,
kind of like wipe myself clean and then start the next day on
yeah.
something brand
They're
new.
fantastic, aren't they? The Murderbot
So good.
books. I really struggled to get hold of Fugitive Telemetry. We was waiting for them to come over because I think they're printed in the US. So it took us quite a while to get them brought over to the UK for us to send out to our customers, and loads of people were like, "Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?" And I totally understand why they were like that. I mean, I was waiting for them as well, and I was like emailing the publishers like, "Where are these books?" You know. They're fantastic, and Martha Wells signed some plates for us as well, which was awesome to have that. She's a fantastic author. Um, but yeah, 100%, I agree with that, man. That's a brilliant shout.
Yeah, man. Well, you've been a fantastic guest, and I really appreciate you joining us
I,
to
I
chat about
appreciate
indie
you.
publishing and bookselling and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on. Hopefully, as I say, in a few years' time, we'll be even bigger. We'll be doing some really exciting things. It's just having the staff to be able to do that and the time at the moment for me to be able to sort of not plan things out but be spontaneous. You know what I mean? You can't be spontaneous when you're busy all the time.
You can be
So
spontaneous and plan a little bit here and there. Just kind of like mix it up.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't like planning. There's no fun in planning, is there? There's nothing fun about it. You know what you're doing. You know when it's going to happen. I just sort of like, yeah, I just live for the moment. I mean, I don't know if I can do that much longer though. To be, as I say, it's the business is getting quite big now, and as it gets bigger, it becomes more serious. And I mean, I can't sort of, I don't know, mess around forever. But it's I've got to start being more serious in my judgment and stuff like that. I mean, not that I'm not serious. You know what I mean? I do take things very seriously, but at the same time, I do like to have a lot of fun.
Oh man,
Again, I love,
we've got faith in you. Don't worry.
yeah.
You'll be okay.
Hopefully,
Everything will come together.
next month we're changing the logo for Halloween.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're gonna get new stickers, and yeah, it's gonna be like Halloween theme next month, which is gonna be really cool. I'm hoping to do that every Halloween. To be fair, so it's yeah. I'm not gonna sort of. Is it October next month? It is, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
send those over so I can slap them on the videos and
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
everything,
that.
and on
I
top of your
appreciate
face.
that. Uh, Emmy's currently working on it. She's been absolutely brilliant as well. To be fair, I mean, as I say, I've got to thank Emmy for really helping me with the graphics. She created all the bookmarks, and she created a lot of the banners and stuff like that. Sean came up with the original logo. Sean, sort of before he started working with me, helped me out massively. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it with him without him. My cousin as well. He helped me set up the website. So it's made up of so many different people. The Broken Binding is, but yeah, I kind of owe it all to them, and then obviously to everybody that's taking part, and for things like this as well. You know what I mean? The podcast, and it gives me a chance to sort of chat to people about it and what we've done and what we're going to do, and it's exciting. You know what I mean? As I say, like 7 months ago, and never would have thought that this would happen.
No, I mean, you guys are doing great things, and we're always here to support you. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You know, we've got your backs, and you know, we'll
Yeah.
be spreading the good word about the Broken Binding as much as we can. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's as I say,
Our pleasure.
The bigger we get, the more we can do.
Exactly.
And there's a lot on the horizon. I mean, I think people are going to be very, very pleased with the stuff that's going to be in the subscription. I mean, the subscription is going to be really cool. I mean, I'm not just saying this because it's books that I love that are coming out, but I mean, I think that everybody's going to be sort of wanting to get onto that subscription because it's going to be awesome. We are going to try and keep some extras to one side for people that don't manage to sort of get it. I know that may sort of spoil exclusivity a little bit, but some of the books that we're going to be getting, I think that it'd be unfair to sort of say you're in it, you can't get it now. So there's a lot of stuff coming, man. I'm really excited for.
Man, we're excited too.
So yeah.
Well, tell everyone how they can find out more about the Broken Binding, and how they can get in touch if they're interested, social media or email, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, the best thing to do is to follow us on Twitter. I don't actually know what our Twitter name is. I think you can type Broken Binding in, it should come up. But I think that the actual, let me just get it up. It is at binding_broken.
And then you can also check out the Broken Binding just at their website, which is thebrokenbinding.co.uk. And man, the revamp looks super nice. I just checked it out this morning.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't
Really
it?
good.
It's a lot better than it was before. I was really chuffed with it when we first had it come out, but comparing what it looked like to what it looks like now, it looks a lot more professional. I mean, we've got the John Gwynn special editions on the front slider. If you click along, you can see the book of the month, and it will take you to the book of the month, which we're always going to be doing 25% off now. This month, it's A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. The brothers Gwynn have interviewed him for that. You can check that out on their YouTube channel. That's a really good interview. So the website, because it's changed, I think it's made things a lot easier, and hopefully a lot cleaner as well. Whereas before it was kind of becoming like a junk pile. You know what I mean? We're just adding stuff on, and but now it should break it down a lot better. So
yeah, we're doing similar things at FanFiAddict. So
oh yeah.
And Justin, how can people find out more about you?
I am at plot_head, PLOT_HEAD, on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads. And of course, I'm on FanFiAddict.com.
Yeah, you can go check out Justin's reviews, and also I highly recommend reading his Neurodivergence series of essays, which includes a lot of stuff from guest authors and other people in the blogging industry. So
Nice.
Yeah, very cool stuff. All right, guys. Well, thank you both for joining me, and I really appreciate you taking the time. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.